The essential problem of Europe is that Germany exports over 50% of its GDP. The fourth largest economy exists with half of its economy dependent on exports. Of those exports, about a little over half go to the European Free Trade Zone. The Germans need that free trade zone because if they were blocked from access to these countries, their economy would, if not collapse, be reeling at the very least. So when the Germans threaten to throw people out, everyone they throw out is a market they potentially lose. And hence, in 6 years, they've thrown no one out, but they have been very aggressive in lending to them at various times so they can continue buying their goods. The German control of the euro, which was political, fixed its price at a level that benefited the Germans, but didn't give the Greeks, for example, the ability to devalue when devaluation would have solved many problems for them early on. The regulations of Brussels were such that it was almost impossible for entrepreneurial activity to take place, plus the tax code was so punitive to anyone successful that you'd be crazy to try to be an entrepreneur. There was no Google threatening Siemens. The German corporations and the other European corporations of the 1950s style remain intact, where in the United States, digital equipment, Prime, Data General went reeling when Microsoft came up. No such thing happened in Europe. So Europe remained very stable and very needy of itself. The result was, since you couldn't be entrepreneurial legally, you were entrepreneurial illegally. The only way to start a business and have any chance of surviving is in the black. Because if you follow the regulations, if you follow the tax code, you couldn't possibly survive. Not that the Greeks really respected the tax code. But I mean, this is an old story in Europe, which is that the government creates regulations and then fully expects everybody to disobey them, because the government knows that if you obey them, unemployment will surge in Romania, will surge in Poland, and so on and so forth. So the European institutionalization of regulations, which if followed would crush you, forced huge amounts of the economy off into the black market. That cut the tax base and created a sovereign debt crisis. The countries couldn't pay off their debt. The next thing that happened was a debate, and two narratives emerged. In one narrative, the shiftless, lazy, self-indulgent Greeks fooled the naive and simple Deutsche Bank examiners into making them loans. In the other narrative, which now is being heard, the Germans rigged the EU to make certain that their need for exports, that it was a real need, they couldn't back off, their need for exports was protected. So in one story, it was the irresponsibility of everybody in Europe. On the other story, it was the Germans being Germans again.